Hello. Welcome to Healthy by Choice, the podcast that's here to ignite your belief in what's truly possible for your health and well-being. Hi, I'm Dr. Kerry, and what lights me up is empowering others. My mission has always been to inspire you to take your health seriously and give you the tools to understand your body on a deeper, more meaningful level. In each episode, we'll explore the healing power of nature, the role of real food as medicine, and how intentional movement can restore balance to your body and mind. So whether you're on a journey of prevention, recovery, or simply seeking more vitality, this podcast is your reminder. You hold the power to heal. Thanks so much for joining me. Hi, friends. Welcome back. Hey, I want to talk to you this week about one of the phrases I often say is your brain in communication with your body and your body in communication with your brain. So what I'm referring to is understanding the autonomic nervous system, right? Every time I have a new patient, I say that the brain is connected to the body and the body, more importantly, is connected to the brain. And I say that the brain, the brainstem, and the spinal cord makes up your nervous system. Your nervous system travels through the spinal canal, and the nerves exit at every level of the spine. So the nerves go to everywhere in the body and also from everywhere in the body back up to your brain. So your brain knows where you are in space. Are you hot or cold, or do you have pain? And I say that sort of generically, let's just say. So let's just break it down a little bit. Not too technical, but basically autonomic nervous system. The part of your body that is basically controlling heartbeat, breathing, digestion, blood pressure, whether or not you're sweating to cool yourself down, right? Whether you have pupil dilation, immune response, hormonal balance, that's happening when we don't have to think about it. It's what's keeping us alive every second of our lives, whether we're awake or asleep. Also, whether we're stressed, relaxed, exercising, or meditating, it's constant, which is good. Great. And of course, we don't have to think about it. We also don't control some of the things, like consciously, we don't tell the heart to beat. Consciously, we do not tell the stomach to digest the food. Your body knows what to do. Your body knows how. So this branch of the nervous system that controls all of the functions in the body is operating in the background, let's just say. And so the things like heart rate, breathing, blood flow, digestion, your gland function, inflammation, that's all happening in that pathway of the nervous system. And then it gets broken down sympathetic and parasympathetic. And it's essentially two sides of the same coin. Our sympathetic nervous system, the nervous system is preparing us for action, right? Often you'll hear it called fight or flight. And I know we say, so many people say thousands of years ago when a tiger was chasing us. And I know that's not really modern day, but things happen in this. Well, if you sit in traffic, it feels like a tiger is chasing you sometimes. But many things can create this response. It's essentially the response of the heart rate increasing, your breath becoming faster, or your breathing becoming faster. The blood moves toward your muscles so that you can move, right? So that you can run if need be. Your pupils dilate. And because the blood has moved to the muscles, also the digestion is slowing down, essentially because the blood is moving out of the stomach, out of the digestion function, which is good because you don't want to slow yourself down and take the time or energy to digest your food when in fact you need to run or fight or react quickly, something like that. And I know that can just be one email or some deadline that's looming or, some sort of financial stress. And for goodness, we all know the news, like, oh my gosh, just getting news of any sort, but having it on, it's a thing. It's a real thing. And then conversely, the parasympathetic nervous system is what we call rest and digest. Some people say rest and restore. It's sort of the opposite side of the same coin. If you rest, repair, you are digesting food or nutrients, you are actively healing or actively recovering, your heart rate slows, the digestion improves and becomes the focus, and then you can allow the body to absorb the nutrients that you've consumed. Also, this is stimulating immune function or tissue repair, something like that. And this is the kind of thing where the body restores itself, right? It's basically having your parasympathetic nervous system activated is the resting, the relaxing, whatever. And one of the most important nerves in the parasympathetic nervous system is called the vagus nerve. And it really travels from the brainstem down through the body and connects to the heart, lungs, stomach, intestines. And that's literally the brain connecting to the body, meaning the digestion, the organs. And it's how we slow things down to create balance. I don't know if you remember, this is a bit of a side note, but I've said multiple times, and I say this to my patients a lot, if we want to increase our digestion or our relaxation, we can just touch our eyelids, close your eyes and touch your eyelid with the weight of approximately a dime, and that will put your body into rest and digest faster. And so again, it's stimulating the vagus nerve, cranial nerve 10. Let's see. So the neural pathways, right? The brain and the spinal cord, I want to go back. If you've ever been in my office, in either of my offices, you know that I always have a poster called Autonomic Nervous System. And it basically gives there's yellow and there's green, I'm going to say nerves. Of course, it's a drawing, but it's a line of the yellow, the parasympathetic are green, the sympathetic are yellow, and they are just breaking this down. And it also shows from what vertebra. So the part that I find the most interesting is above C1, meaning cervical. So the first 7 vertebrae in our neck are cervical, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After that, we go to thoracic, 1 through 12, and then lower is lumbar, 1 through 5, and below your lumbar spine are your sacrum. So up at the very top where your skull meets your spine, if you go above that first bone into your skull, that is the parasympathetic, right? So eyes are up there, and of course the lacrimal glands and the submaximal, sublingual, stuff like that, the things that make you tear or salivate. But also from up there come the nerves that go to your heart, to your lungs, and then as I was saying with cranial nerve 10, it goes all the way to the other digestion, whether it's, liver, pancreas, adrenal, small intestine, large intestine, et cetera, et cetera. But that's the parasympathetic, that's the rest and digest. My point being that from above our top bone in our spine is the primary parasympathetic. I just find that really interesting because, as I've said, again, if you're my patient, you know this, and I say it often, that if we think of the nervous system, if we think of the spinal canal like a garden hose, and when the garden hose is open, the water flows, there's a full flow of force, right? But if you kink that garden hose anywhere in the middle of the hose, no water will get below that kink, right? So that is not a direct translation because you have ligaments and tendons and muscles that keep your bones into place. You don't have bones moving all over. However, it does describe nicely when the spinal canal is open, it allows the flow. And also at the very top, it is very much like the spigot. This is why there are many chiropractors who focus only on the top bone of the spine. They're called upper cervical chiropractors, and they specifically even though they do different types of techniques and different types of ways of doing it, their primary concern is that opening sufficient to keep your brain in communication with your body and your body in communication with your brain? And basically that means, is that flow flowing? Like, are you able? And then I'm just going to finish up what I was talking about, the posters, because in my office, the other side of that are the yellow nerves that are the sympathetic. And of course, you know, I was saying, like, if there's a tiger chasing us, if we're in traffic, whatever, the supply to the stomach and much of the digestion does get cut off because we need to focus on running or taking off or whatever and not digesting. So that's, I don't know what to say, that it's a built-in system. It's a really smart system that takes care of us. So what's great about the parasympathetic system originating from what we call the cranial sacral outflow, right? The brain stem, and then the sacrum. That's, again, back to the vagus nerve. The parasympathetic signals from the brain to the organs in the chest and the abdomen. And then the sacral nerves carry the signals to the lower digestive tract and the pelvic organs. It's all the relaxing, digesting, restoring, repairing. But most importantly, we want to keep these in balance, right? This is not about eliminating. This is not about not having or not respecting or not appreciating that sympathetic system, because certainly we do need it. We need it even for exercise and, you know, things we do, chasing a toddler. But, you know, responding to a challenge or creating focus, it really is meant to be. However, when we can apply the brakes, when we can rest, we want to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, right? We want to slow our breathing, deepen our breath, move and exercise regularly in a way that is more like walking rather than running, spending time in nature, shifting our bodies toward a calmer state, essentially. So we can do that pretty much anywhere, anytime, as long as we check in with our breath. Take a slow, deep breath. Like I said, touch your eyelids, go for a walk, go out in nature, all the stuff. And I have to admit that the recording stopped when I was in the middle of this, maybe 2 minutes ago. And I thought, I have a couple of ways I could respond to this. And throwing the phone across the room is one of them. But I decided to just, first of all, giggle. Giggling always helps me. It reminds me that it's just not that serious. But, you know, I can take slow, deep breaths. I can close my eyes and touch my eyelids. I can check in with my body. And I can be grateful for the problems that I do have. Because I am so aware that there are people that have real problems, and I am not one of them. And when I breathe that in, it helps me calm my system, and it helps me get things on board and in balance. And I wish that for you as much as possible. Take care of your spine, take care of your nervous system. Know that I love you, and I'm sending my very best to you. Bye-bye.